The shattering truth: I learned my wife was cheating. Hey Reddit, I never thought I'd find myself sharing my story here. But sometimes, life throws you curveballs that you didn't see coming, and I figured it might help to share my experience. This is a story of trust, betrayal, and ultimately, my journey to reclaiming my life. It all began 2 years ago when my wife, Lucy, and I celebrated our 8th wedding anniversary. We were young when we got married, both of us barely in our 20s. Our love was passionate and wild, the kind of love that makes you believe you're invincible. We built a beautiful life together, a cozy home, good jobs, and a circle of friends who felt like family. But, as it often goes in life, things started to change. Lucy began to work longer hours, saying that her job had gotten more demanding. She worked as a marketing executive, and there were ambitious projects that required her to stay late. At first, I was supportive, understanding that she was dedicated to her career. But gradually, I noticed subtle changes. The intimate connection we had began to fade. Our late-night talks turned into scrolling through our phones, and our passionate encounters became rare. I tried to spark a conversation about our relationship, but Lucy dismissed my concerns, assuring me that it was just a phase. I wanted to believe her, so I pushed aside my worries. But deep down, a nagging feeling started to fester, a feeling I couldn't shake. One evening, while Lucy was at work, I decided to clean the house. As I was organizing the home office, I stumbled upon her old journal. It was dusty and buried beneath a pile of papers, but I was drawn to it. Somewhere inside me, I felt a mixture of curiosity and caution. Should I read it? Against my better judgment, I opened the journal. Inside were pages filled with Lucy's reflections about her life, her dreams, her fears, and her love for me. The entries made me smile, even laugh at some of her quirky thoughts. However, I soon noticed a shift in tone as I flipped through the pages. The last few entries were filled with doubt about our marriage and mentions of someone named Jake. My heart sank. I felt a lump in my throat as I read the words that shattered my world. I feel so alive when I'm with Jake. There's a spark that's been missing with Mike. My heart raced as panic seeped in. My hands trembled as I continued reading about her feelings for this man, the connection she felt with him, and the way he made her feel desired. It was a gut punch I was not prepared for. Feeling dizzy, I carefully placed the journal back where I found it and sat down on the floor. My mind raced with endless questions. How long had this been going on? Who was Jake? Why didn't I see the signs earlier? I felt like my entire life was crumbling around me. This wasn't just a betrayal, it was a complete and utter annihilation of trust. I didn't confront Lucy right away. I needed time to process everything. I became a master of disguise, acting like everything was fine. I began noticing more things in her behavior. The lingering scent of perfume that wasn't hers, the late-night phone calls with hushed voices, and the sudden uptick in her social media activity made every nerve in my body scream. After a week of tormenting myself with doubt and hopelessness, I finally decided to confront her. I laid out all the evidence I found, her journal, the changes in her behavior, everything. I looked her in the eyes, my heart racing, waiting for her reaction. At first, she was defensive, denying everything. But as I pushed for the truth, her face changed. I could see the guilt in her eyes, the fear of being caught. It was a moment of painful clarity, but she still insisted that she hadn't cheated on me, at least not yet. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind was tangled in a mess of emotions. Anger, betrayal, love, they all crashed together in a storm of chaos. The thought of losing her was unbearable, but the thought of being with someone who didn't respect our commitment was equally painful. I decided I needed a plan. I couldn't just let my whole life fall apart without a fight. So, I started gathering information. I followed her on social media, trying to catch glimpses of her interactions with Jake. After a few days, I discovered that they'd been meeting regularly. My heart was shattered all over again, the evidence was undeniable. I felt a resurgence of determination. I wanted to catch her in the act. I decided to set up a camera in our living room, facing the front door. I had to know for sure and see if she would bring Jake into our home. That weekend, I planned to take a trip to my sister's place, leaving Lucy alone. I would return in the late evening, hoping to capture the moment. The day came, and as I drove to my sister's, I found myself gripped with anxiety. But underneath that was a sense of purpose. I wanted the truth, and I was ready to confront it. After what felt like an eternity, I returned home later that evening. My heart was pounding as I reviewed the footage. With shaky hands, I pressed play, and there it was, Lucy arriving home with Jake, their laughter echoing in the empty house. I felt sick. The ache in my gut grew unbearable as I watched them embrace, feeling like a punch in the stomach. My mind spiraled. How could she do this to us? To me? All those years together, and here she was, sharing something so intimate with another man. When they finally kissed, it shattered the last remains of my heart. I couldn't watch anymore. I felt disgusted by the betrayal, and rage bubbled within me. I had trusted her, believed in her, and she threw it away like it meant nothing. The next morning, I confronted her with the video. Seeing the reality of her actions played back on the screen was monumental. Her face drained of color, and the tears streamed down her cheeks as she finally admitted to everything. All the denying, the excuses, they collapsed in the face of undeniable evidence. I'm so sorry, she began, her voice trembling. I never meant for it to happen. I thought I was just looking for something I felt we lost. Jake made me feel alive. Alive? What about the life we built together? I shot back, my voice barely masking the anger that bubbled within. You shattered everything we worked for over a feeling. It's not just you who is hurting here, Lucy. You've betrayed me in the worst way possible. It was a long, painful conversation filled with tears, regrets, and the impossible task of trying to put any pieces back together. But there was no magic fix for what had happened. I felt a deep sense of loss, not just for our marriage but for the love I had believed was unshakable. I told her I needed space to think. I packed my things and moved out to my sister's place. The days turned into weeks, and I drifted through a haze of confusion and grief. My heart felt heavy with anger and betrayal, yet I still missed the woman I had loved so deeply. During this time apart, I sought therapy. I needed someone to talk to about the overwhelming emotions crashing over me. In therapy, I learned to express my feelings, rather than bottling them up. It was a slow process, but I gradually began to understand the complexity of love and trust. After months of reflection, I decided to confront my life moving forward. I knew I could either drown in sorrow or choose to rebuild a new foundation for myself. I chose the latter. With the help of therapy, I began focusing on my career, hobbies, and friendships that I had neglected during my marriage. I started exercising, reading, and even traveled to places I had dreamed of exploring. Each step became a mark of reclaiming my power and identity. Lucy reached out several times, trying to rebuild our relationship, but I was firm in my decision. I let go of the hope for a reconciliation we both once desired. I realized that the connection we had was tainted beyond repair. Trust, once broken, couldn't just be glued back together. A year has passed since that painful chapter of my life began, and I feel like I'm finally emerging from the fog. This experience taught me a lot about love, trust, and the importance of communication in a relationship. I learned that it's okay to reclaim your life, even when everything feels broken. Emotional healing is a journey, and though scars will remain, they have shaped me into someone stronger. I'm now on a new path, ready to embrace life and love once more. If you find yourself in a place of heartbreak, I encourage you to lean on those you trust, seek help, and remember that there is so much more waiting for you. Thanks for reading my story. Remember, no matter how heavy the weight of betrayal feels, the journey of healing begins with you.